Okay, so I'm going to have to be the first to admit that Kudus has not had the best of seasons this year. I mean, just looking at his stats, 4 goals, 3 assists, especially when you compare it to last season when I think he had 14 goals and 6 assists. Crazy numbers. But for whatever reason, this time around, Charlie, things no should go better for him. We saw West Ham generally have struggles. Kudus not hit the same heights as last season for a whole host of reasons. I remember previewing the season, the start of the season, I did say that Kudus would have struggles. Kudus go break small, they hit the same numbers because he had a certain role in the team last year under David Moyes, where the team was playing a lot of counter-attacking football, and it involved, passages of play where Kudus had to hold the ball, dribble out, and essentially that led to Kudus being one of the more influential players in the West Ham team. I think he was the highest dribbler in the Premier League in the 23-24 season, and so clearly, breakthrough season for the player. A lot of good performances, greatness essentially. People were touting him as, a potential signing for Man City, for Arsenal, but then this season it hasn't gone to plan, as we know. A whole host of reasons. I'll touch on them, and we'll talk about some of those, issues that have arose throughout the season, and why, in my opinion, next season we will see the very best of Mohammed Kudus, wherever that may be. So this season, West Ham, the season, I don't know what happened, honestly, and I mean, tell me in the comments if you have any idea of what happened to West Ham, because the signings West Ham make, I mean, you look at the likes of Somerville from Leeds, one of the best wingers in the world. I talk say you can't challenge Kudus for that side. Paqueta already did, then sign Nicolas Füllkrug, better striker. I think they had even James Ward-Prowse, they did a team inside. They made a lot of good attacking signings, and then we saw Julien Lopetegui, one of the best attacking coaches in world football. They come from Sevilla, so already now then pedigree day. So we figure say, Charlie, this be Kudus in next level. Kudus will go the next level. He will get the next, stage. But then very quickly it all started to unravel, right? We saw Lopetegui first of all coming in with a very different style of play from David Moyes, and that meant that Kudus wasn't played in his correct position or his preferred position for majority of the season. He was moved around all over the pitch, so we saw different styles of play, different positions, and that affected him because lack of consistency essentially. I remember the end times Hazard for Chelsea, when he was having his struggles, then the manager they move him go left, they can't center, go move play him right small. Charlie, they help players like that. Another reason to Lopetegui, then he wasn't playing the kind of football that go make Kudus thrive, make Kudus the whole ball. I remember they had some fights somewhere in the season. I made a video on it, actually, the downfall of Kudus this, because the manager wasn't letting him play the way he wants to play. Kudus is a very frustrating player. As a Ghanaian and a Black Star supporter, I've watched Kudus for a long time now. Kudus is frustrating to watch. I remember the whole Black Stars World Cup qualifying campaign. That's my main issue with Kudus. Kudus they hold ball too much, but that is what makes him one of the great players. It's his ego, it's his pride. The fact that he gave him say he could dribble 3 or 4 players, and we saw him pull it off last season with West Ham in the Europa League, in the Premier League, at the Kai against Man City. Then he did do the catch and dribblings. But this season, Lopetegui said, nah, that's in no day. So he reached the point, Charlie, they came to a head. And when you take the dribbling out of Kudus' game, in my opinion, he's a very basic player. I won't call him an exceptional passer of the ball. No offense, I love Kudus, but I know you watch Kudus, they talk say Kudus is an exceptional passer. Kudus should I get some wild strike, or Kudus be very physical. Yeah, he gets some physicality, but his main attribute is his dribbling. And if you are playing in a style of play that takes away one of those main attributes, Charlie, no go source give you. Then we saw, things go badly for West Ham, and if a team isn't playing well in general, I mean, it's very hard for 1 or 2 players to necessarily, shine, especially if you are a player that is an on-top player. You thrive in teams that are thriving, especially when teams are struggling to maintain possession, to break down, to have attacking impacts. it's going to be a struggle for you as an attacking player to be able to hit the same heights and the same numbers, as seasons gone by. Even then, I've been very impressed with Kudus this season. Like 4 goals, 3 assists in a team that have been struggling. I think is a very good return. But then we saw Lopetegui leave and then Graham Potter come in. Now that one to be another thing altogether. Then I figure this be where they go unlock Kudus. Because then I not say this man Lopetegui. Then he step Kudus in neck top. He sit on Kudus in happiness. So I say Charlie. And truly, like as Potter has come, we've seen more of an attacking contribution from Kudus. I think he's returned more to the Kudus of old, so much so that he's actually been linked to some big clubs come the end of the season based on off the back of these last few performances. But even then, it was a struggle because now you have a different system. A lack of consistency, a lack of stability in a club like West Ham, it will affect you. See United, all of them are good players. The Garnachos and Amad Diallos. The fact that they don't have a consistent style of playing, a consistent manager has meant that the team has struggled. You need stability. Any team needs stability. And that has been a major issue for Mohammed Kudus in this season. Another thing also is the Black Stars issue, Charlie. Every player who played for Black Stars this year, not this year, last year, but this season, so 24-25, Charlie, it's been a struggle. You can't Ghana, then go abuse you. Ghana, we they love abuse, then go abuse you. Wait, Charlie, Kudus, still a young player, to be able to be shoulder that burden, carry that burden. I remember there was a particular period or patch in the international friendly, it was qualifying for AFCON, but we'll call it the international friendly period, where he was given the captain's armband, given a number 10 jersey, so much pressure on his shoulders. Charlie, then Kudus know the fits. And then Charlie, still, then he did 1-2-1-2, he did mere body, he did try. But despite that, the Black Stars weren't playing well, and all of them collected abuse. Partey, they know they play, he claimed they abuse some. Inaki Williams, the abuse, they chop him, he make use to himself. Semenyo chop the abuse. And Kudus was the biggest area of the abuse because then they were calling into question his leadership, they were calling into question, even his style of play, the selfishness, the maverick that, he was, and the style of play that made him so instrumental to the Black Stars previously, now was being called into question and say, Charlie, Kudus be selfish player, make Kudus no play, make Kudus no start. Hey, but you will not be anything. Kudus took it on the chin, but we saw that those were issues, and in reality, after that period, he came back to West Ham and actually got the first red card of his West Ham career, probably of his career in general. I can't remember, but let me know in the comments if he got a red card before that. And now, he was essentially in the worst moments of his career, in my opinion. Red card, out of Lopetegui's team, out of Lopetegui's, thinking, potentially, because we know that Lopetegui was looking for an excuse to drop him anyways. The Black Stars failed to qualify for the AFCON for the first time in well over 2 decades. It was a period of transition for the team. It was a bad period in his career. And I think he's managed, I'll give him the credit, he's been able to turn it around exquisitely. Ended the season quite well, if I'm being very honest. Not like the heights of last season, obviously. But your man force, he turned things around 1-2-1-2. And now, end of season, it's looking like he's going to potentially play for a different team next season. And I think where he ends up could be the very making of the player Mohammed Kudus. Potentially, like this next move could be career defining. And I think where he ends up could spell the resurgence of Mohammed Kudus, which we'll talk about, in the next few minutes. Where could he end up, right? Where could he end up? I'd say there are 3 main candidates. There's Arsenal, there's Man City, and then there is anywhere else. And I say anywhere else in terms of like the other teams that are out for him. I'd say the 2 main candidates are Arsenal and Man City, but the obvious ones, the Barcelonas, the Real Madrid, even a Saudi club where he could potentially go and have a bigger part to play or a bigger contribution. I'd say the 2 teams that are the front runners, if he goes to those teams, right, there are obvious pluses and downsides to that. First of all, Arsenal, and depending on how their Thomas Partey situation goes, I think could be instrumental in him playing for the Gunners, right? We know Arsenal are looking for major attacking recruitments end of season and before next season. I think they've struggled this term with Saka's injury, Odegaard out of form, Martinelli not being the best, Trossard not delivering as well as he could. And I think a Kudus in that team could be potentially game-changing for Arteta's side. We know Arteta likes to play a bit defensively, but I think in that same vein, having Kudus carrying the ball forward for a team like Arsenal could be very, very, very instrumental to their title ambitions next season. And I think, in my opinion, those are the front runners, especially with Partey being in that team. If they manage to renew Partey's contract, I think that link up between Partey and Kudus could be very good for Arsenal, could be very good for the Black Stars in creating a much greater chemistry between these two players coming into the national team. So I think that is the obvious, plus side. The downside is Arteta and the style of play, the defensive style of play that we've come to expect from Arteta, and it's like leaving West Ham and going to Arsenal. Charlie, defense. So, but we know that some attacking players have thrived under Arteta, Saka being one of them. And I think, in my opinion, Kudus and Arteta difference no day. Kudus and Arteta, I say Kudus and Arteta. Kudus and Saka difference no day. Kudus and Saka difference no day. So I think that's the best move for him. If he ends up at Man City, and we know that City, they watch him small. Every time he's played against City, West Ham have played against City, Kudus has scored a goal. So I think Kudus, Charlie, serious guy. And I think your man Guardiola, he like them kind of players. But what they happen to say, if he sign those players, then he they coach this renegade style out of them. He they make them system player. Kudus is not a system player. Kudus not be system player. Kudus be player with give him ball, he go train 1, 2, 3, then create space for other players, then try feed them. I mean, you watch Jack Grealish. Grealish was a similar style of player. Now look at him. Savinho, Doku. You go see now then, Charlie, your man 10 system player. They pass back then things. I think it might elevate his game to the next level and get the trophies that Kudus deserves. A player like Kudus deserves big trophies, Premier Leagues, Champions Leagues, and the like. But I think in terms of like taking him to the next level, best player in Africa, Ballon d'Or shout. In my opinion, Kudus be very good. Kudus be like Ballon d'Or level, but it will be a problem. It will be a big problem if he's changed or morphed into a different style of player. And we've seen players, struggle in that sense. So if, in my opinion, I go love make it go Arsenal. If not Arsenal, then make it go another team in Europe, right? Make it go like a Barca. If you make go Madrid, if you go get Madrid, or make it go like Saudi, somewhere where he can be the main man. He's starting week in, week out, and he can just like exert his influence on the game. Saudi there, he go chop big money. Saudi go get like fat checks. But then we know the obvious, criticism of Saudi. Kudus is still young. I think he can still have a big impact in Europe. So maybe Atletico Madrid or something. But the front runner right now be Arsenal. I would love make it go Arsenal. If he goes Arsenal, expect the very best of Mohammed Kudus. I'm being very honest. I think this guy will take Arsenal to the next level. And I think right now, the rumors floating around are that Mikel Arteta is seriously considering Kudus. I think already Arsenal have Zubimendi wrapped up. They are looking at another keeper from Spain as well. And I think then they will start looking at the attacking players. And considering how much Kudus's release clauses, I'm not too sure, but I don't expect it to be too much. I think it will make a lot of sense for Arsenal to look to sign Mohammed Kudus and create that link up with Thomas Partey. Because Thomas Partey is one of the best players, has been one of the best players for Arsenal this season, having been kept fit. And I think having that link up between him and Kudus in the middle of the park will be exceptional. But let me know your thoughts, guys, in the comments below. Where do you think Kudus ends up? Do you think Kudus can turn his career around, his Premier League career around, his club football career around? And what impact do you think that has on the Ghana Black Stars? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Guys, if you enjoyed today's video, please consider smashing the like button, subscribing to the channel Oyibo Sports, and I go see you for streets.